manufacturing PMIs today better than September. Do you buy the recovery story there?
I think you've got to say there's going to be a recovery in Europe. The question is the quality of the recovery. So, for example, these numbers sort of are consistent with plus 0.2 GDP for the fourth quarter. So that's okay. The problem is that if you look at consumer spending, it's not nearly as good as the industrial sector at the moment. And there's risks that the Q3 GDP number, when it's released next week, will be 0.1 rather than 0.2. And, so the recovery isn't really that great in the Eurozone. I think the ECB acknowledged that. But I think what's going to be more important for the ECB is their assessment of the inflation and disinflation risks.
And are you expecting a cut from the ECB this week then?
I think it's a much closer call than the market expects. The market's around about a 20% probability. We'd be 30 to 40% probability. We think that the ECB could consider either a 25 basis point cut, or they might even surprise with a 20 basis point cut, which would allow them to have another 20 basis points available if they need it at a later date.
Okay, so that's Europe. In the UK, we have construction figures, construction PMIs at a 6-year high. Is it time to get even more bullish about the UK recovery here?
I think we're in a sweet spot at the moment for the UK. So, 2013, and particularly sort of Q2, Q3, Q4 are going to be very good, reasonable growth. I think into next year, you've got to remember that the fiscal consolidation from the government continues. You've all got ongoing deleveraging as well. So next year, I think we'll sort of see the pace bed down to 2.5%, 2.25% rather than 3% plus. So I don't think we can get too carried away about the UK. I think it's doing well at the moment. It's looking the best of the G7. But the Bank of England are not going to get scared about that. So when it comes to the inflation report next Wednesday, we're unlikely to see the bank being too hawkish.
Okay, in the last few hours we had Fisher blaming the slow recovery in the US on a government koala, basically. We've also got non-farm payrolls out on Friday. How do you see this panning out?
Well, the market, I think, is crucially sort of trying to understand when the Fed are going to taper, and I don't think that Fisher gave us much indication on that. He's, after all, a non-voting member at the moment still. They'll be looking more to Yellen's testimony next week in front of the Senate to get real clues in terms of 2014 policy. The unemployment rate and payrolls is going to be crucial on Friday because that can sort of shift the market sentiment either more towards January or reverting it back towards March. So we're on hold really in terms of global markets ahead of the ECB and the employment report.